Sibanye Golden Stars. Providing us with 10-15 minutes of incredible football. A non-NFD side, ABC Motsepe side coming in and doing that. Guys who apparently work at the mine, they have 9-to-5s, are guys that did that. Let's be honest about this game. Nobody was expecting this game to give us this. No one expected Sibanye to come in and score 2 goals. And I know they lost the game, but this is incredible for them. And I want to start it by shouting them out and saying that, wow, for the players that really, are not anywhere near the level of Mamelodi Sundowns, or shouldn't be, even for those who say that this is Mamelodi Sundowns' B team, for them to come out and do that and at some point be sitting with a 3-2 was incredible. On Sundowns' side, guys, I will tell you every single time, I keep getting criticized for this, but you don't have real depth. You have players that look good because they play, that theoretically look good because they play in a very good team. But that bench, even though they are good, they're not at the level of Sundowns. And I'm always catching flack for when I say, Mayema, bom kulise, bom abue, before, bom bule, libusa. There's players there that are not at Sundowns' level, but you look at the bench on paper and you say this is it. And it's games like this that show you that there is a huge gap between the first team and the second team. And some of these players are not going to be the players that you think are going to save Mamelodi Sundowns when things get rough. Some of these players are just riding. Abo Masego. So for me, I look at this and I literally just go, you know what, guys? Maybe this should be the games that make you learn about the rest of your squad, and maybe for different factors, game time, general level, abilities, all of that stuff, maybe all of those things are hampering some of those players. You could say about the same about Abonku, Abo Saavedra, Abo Esquivel. There's a lot of players at Mamelodi Sundowns that are not just at the level for Mamelodi Sundowns. And just because they sit on the bench doesn't mean they're good. But let's get into the game. First off, it was Sundowns being complacent. What I had hoped to see from Sundowns and this much-changed team, I was hoping to see, some hungry players, guys that are going to want to play this game. Because let's be honest, coming into this game, no one thought that Sibanye was going to be anywhere. Supersport, before the game started, was playing highlights of the 24-0 power lines. And for the first half, it looked that way. It seemed as though Mamelodi Sundowns just couldn't get into the higher gears. They couldn't will themselves forward. The goal that came from Khoza, the headed goal that came from Khoza, was a set piece. And then I believe the second goal, Yaga Matthews, was a through pass, which I was expecting a lot more of because the defense Sibanye were not talking. Sibanye came into this game and you could tell in the first half that they were a step behind the Sundowns. Whether it be how they were coming at the game, how they were trying to win the ball back, because they were a step behind, it was a lot of fouls. Then when they found themselves in situations where they were under pressure, you could tell that Oliphant, I believe the defender Oliphant and the other centre back were not talking. And because they were not talking, there were a lot of spaces that Mamelodi Sundowns should have taken advantage of. Sorry to interrupt the video that I'm sure you're enjoying, but I just wanted to say thank you for all of the support that you guys have shown me and my Overthinking Football platform. I'm a one-man band that's doing all of this, and I really do enjoy the comments about how, Supersport needs to come fetch me and SABC and all of that stuff. And I think it speaks to the quality of the content, but also the amount of effort that I put in. So I just wanted to say thank you. But the truth is that Abo Supersport and all of those guys, yes, we're competing with them, but it's a completely different place. The sponsors are looking for former players, and to be honest with you, running some of these things is getting so difficult, and things have changed at home. So financially, it's a whole different world. So I wanted to try something new and come to the overthinkers, the people who watch the content, and say it would be incredible if you guys could contribute monthly towards the platform, towards keeping my lights on, but also making sure that all of the crazy things that I want to do, that I want to take Supersport on with, I can actually do. And just for 20 Rand every month, I think think that would be an incredible contribution if you can make it. It may sound like a little, but if we can get a lot of people behind it, then we'll be able to carry on doing what I do. I'll be able to carry on giving you the content and also expanding it, because we don't have shows like this, and us content creators need help from our audiences. So I just came here to ask you if you can. Here is the account number that you guys can use in order to contribute. And I think, yeah, I'd be very grateful if you would. But anyway, let's get back to the video. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But Coach Cardoso at the beginning of this match, before the game started, spoke about how, you know, when you go and play lower league teams, sometimes your own team comes into that game and they go and they play to the level of the opponent, or they get complacent, or they nyatsa the other team. And I feel like Abo Sales and those players, instead of knuckling down and taking advantage of this lesser team, they played with an arrogance that something was going to happen. And look, if you score within the first 2 minutes, you might feel that way. But this is an exercise in discipline. The reason why Power Lines is 24-0 is because Mamelodi Sundowns came into that game and said, listen guys, we don't care. If this becomes finishing practice, we're going to make it finishing practice, and we're going to finish. But this team was far too complacent. They still couldn't build up properly. They still couldn't create chances. Abu Mashikhu, one of the players that I should have added to the list I said earlier, showed that maybe they're not quite up to the level. And what's interesting is that I thought in the first half again that this was just Sundowns being complacent, Sundowns taking this game for granted. In the second half was a completely different game. The coach made Coach Cardoso made his subs. The Sibanye coach made his subs too. And what you saw was that Sibanye came into the second half, and I think they just told themselves that, guys, this is the only chance. Some of us will never be back here. Most of us will never be back here or at this level to play at this level. So let's take the game on and really control the game. If you look at number 10 wabo Umkitimi. Umkitimi is an incredible player. To turn and put in a pass at Loftus versus Sundowns, yes, William should have saved that ball, but to turn and play that pass, then to also play, him and number 11, score another goal. They scored, I believe it was in the 54th and also in the 61st. So for 15 minutes, that team played, and it showed what Imakesi got wrong in their game. Imakesi, what they got wrong in their second half was that they decided to sit back. They decided to say, you know what, gents, we're just going to try and defend out this game. And what Sibanye showed you was that Sundowns this year is not supreme in terms of like holding the ball and doing all those things, right? You can push up a little bit. You can play. And they got their 2 goals, made it 3-2. Unfortunately, obviously, the levels are always the levels. And Sundowns was able to come back and score that 4th and 5th goal to close out the game, right? But again, I want to stick on that point that it feels as though, man, we are seeing the levels of Sundowns. It feels as though we are seeing some recklessness within the Sundowns team. Even if you look at the discipline, another red card. Obas, I think, has 2 red cards this season. Mudau was sitting on a red card just a couple of games ago. I think they're missing something. And I think Cardoso has to really work on getting that team onside. If you look at the pros of what Sundowns did, I think in the second half, when Sibanye started going at them, they then switched on. And when he made the subs to bring in Abokodi-sang, it was the sign to say, okay, we are also going to push. Forget trying to be pretty. Forget trying to hold the ball. Forget this wide thing that they do. Let's be as direct as we can and try and take on this game. I was still expecting a lot more from Mamelodi Sundowns in this game, to be honest with you. And if we look at the 2 levels of the teams, it shouldn't have gone to this place. But to be fair to Mamelodi Sundowns, it's another win. It's another comfortable win at the end of the day, 5-2. Are they creating chances still? I still they lack a little bit there with the creating of chances from open play when the game hasn't broken down, or when you're not playing lesser opposition who are less positionally disciplined. They should have done a lot more in this game. But it was a win. And it's another scrappy win. And you need all the wins you can get, because if this game turned, already Sibanye scoring those 2 goals was already maybe a cause for alarm. But if this game turned and ended in a draw or a loss, which would not happen, but if that happened, serious questions were going to be asked. And going forward, I think that Sundowns has to really look at that squad and make sure that everybody's on the level. I think Robin Johannes was one of the better players who came in today, especially knowing that we're not sure how Mudau and Morena are going to do with coming back from injury. But I think it was good to have Johannes put in a shift. I think he looked really good and maybe could be a first teamer. I think Khoza has always looked great, but when they started getting pulled around, you could tell a little bit that he's not very comfortable, Nabolibusa. The midfield, you could really tell that Alenda wasn't there. It was a little bit empty there in the middle. They were still trying to go wide. Umashiko needs to calm down. He's always rushing. He's always trying to... Man, he doesn't have the composure. Number 10 from Sibanye had composure, but he doesn't have that thing of being composed. So I don't know if we're going to see him again this season. Abo Masego, you have to ask questions of them. And Sales did very well last game, but this game he was way too relaxed. Way too relaxed for a player that is one game removed from being criticized heavily. So all in all, even though the Sundowns win, I think I was more concerned that Sundowns didn't put their best foot forward. And we know this team is better than what they showed. And maybe the expectation was too loud, and maybe we need to give credit to Sibanye. You know, that second half, like I said, they stepped forward. They were committing 3 players up front. What was really cool was that they kept their striker on the final line so that if a ball came out, it becomes a pressure release. Ball comes out, maybe the defender fouls you, or you win the ball, or just pressure them to not make a forward pass. It gives you some time. So well done to Sibanye. To the guys that scored versus the Sundowns, hey, I'm sure Monday when they go to work is going to be insane. I would not let anybody go. If I scored a goal versus Mamelodi Sundowns at Loftus in the Nedbank Cup, it doesn't matter what the score was at the end. I'm not working that day. I'm not working. In fact, you'll find me in the boss's office with a coffee the whole day, because we've just represented that team very highly. But this is the Nedbank Cup, and this is what you need from the Nedbank Cup. It's what we love from the Nedbank Cup, that these things can happen, right? We've seen Chiefs go down. We've seen Abo Maluti. We've seen things happen in this tournament. And even if it wasn't a win, for an ABC team to do this, I think it was great. But at the end of the day, Sundowns are champions for a reason, and they march on to the next round. I will see you guys on the next one.